The stellar dawn hummed with quiet tension as it glided through the vast emptiness of space. Alya stood at the helm, staring out at the swirling stars, her mind racing. The revelation that there were multiple artifacts scattered across the galaxy weighed heavily on her. Each one, connected to the ancient power she had felt in her vision, could spell the end of everything they were fighting to protect. Behind her, Mira and Thane were poring over star maps and old records, trying to pinpoint the locations of the other artifacts based on the coordinates they had extracted from the energy signatures. Every second felt like a countdown to disaster. They weren't the only ones searching, and they couldn't afford to lose the race. "We've identified 3 possible locations," Mira said, breaking the silence. Her voice was strained, filled with the urgency they all felt. "Each of them aligns with the ancient star maps we found. But there's a catch. 2 of the locations are deep in Vraath-controlled space." Alya's eyes narrowed. "And the third?" Mira brought up the map on the display. "Here," she said, pointing to a distant star system on the edge of known space. "It's a barren world, completely uninhabited according to the records, but the energy signature is strongest there." Thane leaned over the map, his face etched with concern. "The Vraath aren't going to sit back and let us investigate. If we head into their territory, we'll be flying straight into the heart of their defenses." Alya turned to face them, her expression determined. "We'll start with the uninhabited world. It's the closest and the least risky, but we can't ignore the others. If the Vraath are after the artifacts too, they're likely already moving. We'll have to divide our efforts." Mira frowned. "Divide our forces? Captain, we're barely holding together as it is." Alya crossed her arms, thinking hard. "We'll send scouts to monitor the other 2 locations, just to see what we're dealing with. But we can't afford to waste time. The longer we wait, the more ground the enemy gains." Thane nodded, though his face remained grim. "Agreed, but we have to be ready for anything. If whoever's behind this is already collecting the artifacts, we might be walking into a trap." Alya knew the risks. Every step they took toward the artifacts brought them closer to uncovering the truth, but it also brought them closer to danger. The artifact she carried was more than just a tool, it was a key, and each new discovery unlocked more questions. But there was no turning back now. "We'll prepare for the worst," Alya said, her voice firm. "But we can't let fear stop us. We're going to that planet, and we're going to find that artifact before the enemy does." The journey to the uninhabited world was quiet, but the tension among the crew was palpable. Alya spent much of the time in the war room, studying the ancient star maps and reviewing Mira's data. The more she learned, the more she understood that the galaxy's history was far more complicated than she had ever imagined. The civilization that had created the artifacts was long gone, but its legacy and its mistakes lived on. The planet they were heading toward, designated Zarthis IV on the old charts, was a desolate rock. No signs of life, no atmosphere to speak of, and no recorded history of any significant events. But beneath its surface, Alya could feel the pull of the artifact, the same pulse that had guided her to the other sites. As they approached the planet, the Stellar Dawn's sensors flared to life, picking up energy readings similar to those they had found near the other artifacts. "We're detecting a strong energy field," Mira said from her console. "It's faint, but it's definitely coming from the planet's surface. There's something down there." Alya's heart pounded in her chest. "Bring us into orbit. Prepare the shuttle." Thane glanced at the tactical display, his brow furrowing. "Captain, I'm picking up an anomaly just outside the system. A ship, cloaked, but it's giving off a faint signature." Alya's pulse quickened. "Can you identify it?" Thane worked quickly, his fingers flying over the controls. "It's Vraath. They're watching the system, probably waiting for us to make our move." Alya gritted her teeth. "They know we're here, and they know about the artifact." Mira stood up, her face pale. "If they're already here, it means they're tracking the same energy signatures we are. They're after the artifact too." Alya's mind raced. "We don't have much time. We need to get down there before they move in." "Captain," Thane said, his voice tense, "we can't risk an open battle with the Vraath. If they engage us, we'll be sitting ducks." Alya thought fast. "We're going down to the surface, but we're going to make it look like we're pulling away." "Thane, Cloak the stellar dawn and move it into a shadow position behind the planet's largest moon. Let the Vraath think we're leaving. Thane nodded, already working on cloaking the ship. Understood. Alya turned to Mira and Kalen. We'll take a small team to the surface. If the Vraath make a move, we'll already be down there. This has to be quick. The shuttle descended through the planet's thin atmosphere, the landscape below as barren and desolate as the data had indicated. Alya sat in silence, her eyes fixed on the rapidly approaching surface. The pulse of the artifact she carried was growing stronger, more insistent. It was here. As the shuttle touched down, the team disembarked, their boots crunching against the rocky ground. The air was thin, and the temperature dropped rapidly as they moved away from the shuttle, but the energy emanating from beneath the surface was unmistakable. This place feels dead, Kalen said, scanning the horizon. I don't see anything. Are we sure the artifact is here? Alya nodded, her eyes focused on a ridge in the distance. It's here. I can feel it. Mira checked her scanner. There's a large underground structure about 1/2 kilometer from here. That's where the energy signature is strongest. It's buried deep, but the readings are off the charts. Alya led the way, the wind howling through the empty plains as they made their way toward the ridge. The closer they got, the stronger the artifact's pulse became. It was like the ground itself was vibrating with power, calling to her. Finally, they reached the ridge, and beneath it, a massive entrance carved into the rock, a doorway that looked ancient, yet untouched by time. The symbols etched into the stone were the same as those they had seen before, symbols of the ancient civilization that had created the artifacts. This is it, Alya said quietly. The artifact is inside. The team approached cautiously, weapons at the ready. The entrance loomed before them, and as they stepped inside, a wave of energy washed over Alya, strong enough to take her breath away. The underground chamber was vast, its walls lined with more of the glowing symbols. And at the center of it all, suspended in the air, was the artifact. It was larger than the one Alya carried, its glow pulsating with a strange, almost hypnotic rhythm. The energy radiating from it was intense, filling the room with a hum that reverberated through the stone. Mira's eyes widened as she scanned the artifact. This is incredible. The energy levels are off the scale. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Alya stepped forward, the artifact around her neck pulsing in response. We need to secure it. We can't let it fall into the wrong hands. Before she could reach the artifact, the ground trembled and a sharp crack echoed through the chamber. Captain, Kalen shouted. We've got incoming. Vraath forces. Alya turned, her heart racing. The Vraath had found them. Set up a defensive position, Alya ordered, her voice calm despite the rising tension. We hold them off here. We can't let them take the artifact. As the team scrambled to fortify their position, Alya stood before the glowing artifact, her hand hovering over its surface. The final hunt had begun. The ground beneath Alya's feet shook violently as the first explosion echoed through the chamber. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and the hum of energy from the artifact intensified, filling the air with a crackling tension. The Vraath had arrived, and they weren't wasting any time. Alya gripped her weapon tightly, her eyes fixed on the entrance of the chamber. She could hear the rapid approach of Vraath troops, their boots pounding against the rocky ground. Her team scrambled to position themselves, weapons at the ready, preparing for the inevitable clash. Mira, how much time do we have? Alya called out over the noise, her voice sharp and focused. Mira glanced at her scanner, her brow furrowed. They're right on top of us, Captain. We've got maybe 2 minutes before they breach the chamber. Alya's mind raced. The artifact loomed behind her, its glow pulsing rhythmically, a powerful yet dangerous presence in the room. They couldn't afford to lose it to the Vraath, not after everything they had sacrificed to get this far. Kalen, Thane, Alya ordered. Hold the entrance. We can't let them get inside. Mira, help me secure the artifact. We're not leaving without it. Kalen and Thane nodded, moving quickly to position themselves by the chamber's entrance. Alya could feel the tension radiating off them, the weight of the coming battle pressing down on them all. The Vraath were relentless, and this fight would be brutal. As Mira joined Alya near the artifact, she worked quickly to scan the energy field surrounding it. Captain, this thing is highly unstable. If we try to move it without disrupting the energy field, we could trigger. I don't know what. An explosion? A collapse? Whatever it is, it won't be good. Alya's jaw tightened. They didn't have time for caution. Can you stabilize it? Mira hesitated, then nodded slowly. I can try, but I'll need cover. Do it, Alya said, turning her attention back to the entrance. The sound of gunfire erupted just as the Vraath soldiers poured into the narrow corridor leading to the chamber. Kalen and Thane opened fire immediately, their shots ringing out through the air, each blast echoing through the stone walls. The Vraath responded with a barrage of laser fire, their weapons flashing as they pressed forward. Hold the line, Thane shouted, his voice barely audible over the roar of battle. We can't let them through. Kalen's face was grim as he fired shot after shot, the recoil of his weapon barely slowing him down. The Vraath were fierce fighters, their elite soldiers trained for combat in the harshest conditions. But Alya's team was skilled, and they fought with the desperation of those who had everything to lose. Alya crouched beside Mira, glancing over her shoulder at the battle unfolding just meters away. How's it going? Mira's hands moved rapidly over her datapad, sweat beading on her forehead. The energy field is destabilizing faster than I thought. I'm doing what I can, but I need more time. We don't have time, Alya said, her voice tight. Do whatever you have to. We need that artifact. Mira's face was pale, but she nodded, her fingers flying over the controls as she worked to stabilize the energy field. I'm almost there. Another explosion rocked the chamber, sending chunks of stone tumbling from the ceiling. Alya shielded her face as dust filled the air, but she didn't stop moving. She couldn't afford to. Captain! Thane's voice came over the comm, breathless and strained. We've got a heavy assault team moving in. We can't hold them off much longer. Alya's heart pounded. The Vraath were pushing harder than she'd anticipated. They weren't just trying to claim the artifact. They were trying to crush Alya's team completely. If they broke through the defenses, it would be over in minutes. We need reinforcements, Kalen shouted, his voice strained as he fired another burst at the incoming Vraath soldiers. They're going to overwhelm us. Alya's mind raced. The stellar dawn was still cloaked behind the planet's moon, waiting for her signal. But if she called for reinforcements now, they'd have to risk revealing the ship to the Vraath. That could trigger an all-out battle in orbit, one they might not survive. Mira, how much longer? Alya demanded. I've almost got it, Mira replied, her voice tight with concentration. Just a few more seconds. But seconds were a luxury they didn't have. The Vraath soldiers pushed forward, their shields absorbing the brunt of the incoming fire as they closed in on the entrance to the chamber. Kalen and Thane fought fiercely, but it was clear they were being pushed back. We're getting overrun, Thane shouted, his voice filled with desperation. We can't hold them. Alya clenched her fists. She couldn't let this happen. They had come too far, sacrificed too much to let the Vraath take the artifact now. Mira, get down! Alya shouted as she grabbed her weapon and charged toward the entrance. Without hesitation, she joined Kalen and Thane at the front, firing into the wave of advancing Vraath soldiers. Each shot was precise, taking down one enemy after another, but the sheer number of Vraath forces was staggering. They kept coming, relentless in their assault. Alya's muscles burned, her heart pounding in her chest as she fought, but she knew they couldn't hold out much longer. The Vraath were closing in, and it was only a matter of time before they broke through. Captain, Mira's voice rang out from behind her. I've stabilized the artifact. We can move it, but we need to do it now. Alya didn't hesitate. Kalen, Thane, fall back to the artifact. We're getting out of here. The team began a fighting retreat, moving back toward the artifact as the Vraath pressed forward. The chamber was shaking, the ground rumbling beneath them as more explosions rocked the structure. Mira, get the artifact ready for transport, Alya ordered, her voice tight with urgency. Mira worked quickly, attaching the necessary stabilization modules to the artifact to prevent it from destabilizing during transport. The glowing object pulsed with power, its energy swirling around them as if it was alive. We're ready, Mira shouted. Alya activated her comms. Thane, bring the shuttle in. We're getting out of here. The shuttle's engines roared as it descended rapidly, hovering just above the entrance to the chamber. The rear ramp lowered, and the team rushed aboard, carrying the artifact with them. Alya and Kalen were the last to board, covering the retreat as the Vraath forces stormed the chamber. "Go, go, go!" Alya shouted as she and Kalen leaped aboard. The ramp closed, and the shuttle shot into the air, narrowly avoiding a barrage of laser fire from the Vraath. Alya gripped the handrail, her heart pounding as the shuttle raced toward the atmosphere. "We made it," Thane said, his voice filled with relief. Alya nodded, her eyes fixed on the artifact, which now rested securely in the cargo hold. But the relief she felt was fleeting. They had barely escaped with their lives, and the Vraath would stop at nothing to get the artifact back. As the shuttle approached the stellar dawn, Alya's mind raced with the implications of what they had just witnessed. The artifacts were far more dangerous than they had imagined, and now they had one in their possession. But they weren't the only ones hunting for them. "We're not done yet," Alya muttered under her breath. The battle for the artifacts had only just begun.